Hi, it's Chris here. So today's video is about another authentic conversation, and it really goes back to my my Nana, who my mum's mum. She was an extraordinary woman. She emigrated from England. So, low battery. So she emigrated from England when she was a teenager with her parents. They settled in Victoria, and you know, they didn't have a lot of wealth. They came out here for a new life, and she met her husband here, who also emigrated from England with his family, and quite extraordinary really, because they were in neighbouring counties back in England, and they both emigrated in their teenage years with their families, and then they met in Victoria in Australia and married. I found that quite amazing really. And anyway, so they married and they had two children, two daughters, my mum and her sister. Anyway, then that was before the First World War, and then my pop, he went to the First World War, and he just you know, he really had a really hard time of it. He was an educated man, and they had him doing a lot of educated type jobs in the army, but he also saw a lot of battle. And when he came back to Australia, he was a completely different man. And you know, he died in his early 40s. So, you know, my mum really didn't know her dad, and my nan ended up bringing up the two girls on her own, and that was very hard. They didn't have any possessions. You know, nan and the two girls, my mum and my aunt, they lived in flats, one flat really, all of their life. So it was a pretty hard life, and fortunately though, because Nana came from a larger family, she had one sister and two other brothers, one of whom she lost in the First World War, and her other brother, her youngest brother, he was very successful in his lifetime, and fortunately he looked after Nana and the girls, my mum and my aunt, and he actually put them through boarding school, because my nan couldn't afford to put them through a proper schooling. So they were very fortunate that that their uncle, or you know, Nana's brother, was able to look into it and to help them out. So, you know, from my Nana, who was a very strong lady, who was a very proud lady, but really, you know, didn't have any real material possessions her whole life. She lived with us while I was growing up until I was about, I think I would have been about 10 years old. And you know, she passed away in our house, and you know, from her and my mum, who is, like I said in my previous videos, a very, very strong woman, and because my nan was a single mum, not because of, but circumstances around me, I was also a single mum. My husband and I, we divorced when our youngest was just 18 months old, and so, you know, I brought up my 2 children, and Nana brought up her 2 children. Fortunately for my mum, that skipped a generation. Like, mum and dad were together until dad passed away. So, you know, like I said earlier, I think it was 45 plus years they were together, which is pretty amazing. And I just really wanted to share that because, you know, you need to know where your strength comes from. And, you know, now my Nana, I realized, because of what I was saying about my mum in an earlier video, I realized that I'm getting a bit emotional, but I realized that her strength came from her mother. And, you know, and Nana's probably came from her mother, who brought their whole family from England to Australia. So I just thought I'd share that with you today, and you'll probably learn a lot more about me in the coming videos. Bye for now.